Okay, here we go. Final part. We are jumping into the 13th Doctor's era, the Chris Chibnall era of the show. And I'm going to say right off the bat, just to clear it up, clear the air. Era was rough. The era was rough. Chris Chibnall is a bad writer. I will say, like, should not have gotten the reins of Doctor Who. Did not really understand the story and the characters, and did not really understand what Doctor Who in a way well enough to be given showrunner reins, and kind of like the point where they have to essentially reboot the show now. And I think Chris Chibnall is really bad was really bad for Doctor Who. But I think the 13th Doctor and the companions are criminally underrated. I think Jodie Whittaker is an incredible Doctor, one of the best Doctors, and I think her performance is incredible. And I think that like there's a lot of side stories, like expanded material that really shows that like, hey, she is a really good Doctor, and her companions are actually pretty solid. They were just trapped in terrible scripts, you know, and like I think people like give a lot of shit to the 13th Doctor and blame it on her when it really is Chris Chibnall. It's not her. Anyway, Woman Who Fell to Earth, I think that was a good start for the 13th Doctor. I remember being like at this point perfectly fine with me, like, hey, like don't really have any issues here. Was it like anything like super memorable? No, but like it's a solid mid-tier Doctor premiere episode. Like very like I would compare it very much to like Deep Breath. Ghost Monument, I remember this being bad. Cannot tell you what happened in it, but low tier. Rosa, I remember being pretty solid. I'm gonna say mid tier. I think there was like a really cheesy villain in it that like did not need to be in the episode. I think if they were written out and it was just a historical piece, this could have worked much better, and I think it would have been high tier for sure. And it was close to high tier. I would say it's like highest end of mid tier, honestly. Raccoon's in the UK. Could not tell you a thing that happens in the episode. Was it offensively bad? No, but the Suraga Conundrum, again, sim thing where I offensively bad. No, could not tell you a single thing that happens in it. Demons in the Punjab is probably. It Takes You Away is also really good, but like probably my favorite 13th Doctor story. I'm gonna put it in high tier. I think this is a beautiful story, a really good historical episode. I think it's like honestly, it's very similar to Father's Day. Where did I rank Father's Day? Did I put Father's Day in mid tier? Yeah, very similar to Father's Day, but I think it does it better, and that's very surprising. I'm saying it does it better than the Russell T Davies version. I think this is like a very similar episode, but like better. I think this is a really good example of a character, a companion going back to their own like family's past and sort of influencing that and like meeting relatives that they lost way too soon, you know, and really beautiful, very good story. High tier. Cripple Am, I really like this one too. I think this is like a really good Doctor Who story, a really cool commentary on like modern online shopping and Amazon, and I think it did like, you know, like for an episode that was tackling a contemporary topic like that, and exaggerating it, of course. I think it was very good. I really like this one. I think it's high tier. The Witchfinders, incredibly boring. It's not offensively bad or anything, just incredibly boring. It Takes You Away. This was really good. I would also put this in high tier. I think like really cool visuals. Like I think that like in between place that they were walking through like is an imagery that will stick with me forever. Like set design that will stick with me forever. And has really influenced me a lot. Like that whole like creepy place that they were navigating. I really like the setting in like Norway. Like this could have easily been like a modern England like England story, and I decided I love that they made took a unique culture and a unique location for it. Really solid episode, and you can see I have like 3 13th Doctor episodes here on high tier, so I'm really not like I don't hate the 13th Doctor nearly as much as most people do. The Battle of Raskar of Kolos, low tier. I remember at the time thinking it was okay, but it's just like pretty stale. Another episode that introduces incredibly high concepts for Doctor Who, like lore altering concepts, like Father's Day, that never brings them back, and I think it's like honestly inherently weaker for that. Even though it's technically not the fault of the episode itself. But yeah, I would say low tier, incredibly boring. Resolution, could not tell you really anything that happened in this episode. The twist, it's actually Resolution of the Daleks, so it's actually a secret episode name, and it's a Dalek episode. That's it. It's really just a gimmick episode. Low tier. Spyfall. I loved Spyfall. I don't know why people shit on Spyfall. I would put it in high tier. I think it is incredibly fun. I think it is incredibly fun 2-part story. I think the new Master is great. I personally subscribe to the theory that Sacha Dhawan's Master is before Missy, because Missy has character development that really if Sacha Dhawan was after, we don't, obviously the story doesn't explicitly say where Sacha Dhawan is on the Master's timeline. He could be before John Sim for all we know, so it's, but yeah, I think it's a really fun take on the Master, and I think I think people were complaining because it was just a little too soon for the Master to return, which I agree, because we just had a bunch of Master episodes at the end of season 10, and this is the first episode of season 12, so, well, Missy was really around all of season 10, so to have one season in between that is too short in my opinion. I think Moffat handled it a lot better having that gap of no Master, but yeah, very fun story in my opinion. I really don't have nearly as many problems with it as a lot of people do. Orphan 55, don't think it's shit tier like everyone said, but I just remember it being offensively boring, boring. Same with Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, just incredibly boring. Praxis, same. These are just they're not offensively awful. I just remember almost nothing about them. Fugitive of the Judoon, I want to say it was good. I think it's mid tier. I there's a lot of cool ideas here. But here's the thing. What it sets up for later in the Timeless Child saga, it sets up all that. And that is the worst part of Doctor Who. So, it's setting up the worst part of the show, but right now it hasn't done anything bad. I think Captain Jack was forced into this episode for no reason. Why was he here? So it has a lot of issues, but it's still good enough that I think it sits in mid tier. Can You Hear Me? Again, another episode that oh, I remember. I was gonna say I don't remember anything about, but Can You Hear Me was another episode where potential lore altering concept in it, with this what they call the Celestials, the Ancients, I don't remember, and that never came back. So it stays in low tier for me. The Haunting, this is really a 3-parter again, but it's a loose 3-parter. I'm gonna couple it all together. Haunting of Villa Diode, The Ascension of the Cyberman, The Timeless Child, because it's showrooning. It really is. I have talked a lot with a lot of people about how the Timeless Child situation is, I'm going to say, is what it retcons and what it changes here about this character of the Doctor shows a complete failure of understanding the nature of Doctor Who. And the fact that someone can become not only a writer for the show, but a showrunner determining seasonal arcs like this, like, and have a complete failure of understanding of the character and the narrative is, like, unforgivable. Now, I think, you know, you can obviously move on for here and bury it and not really reference it again. And I think that's fine. And I think that's what the show is doing. I think there was a way that they could have handled it where they could have made it so the master was lying and had manipulated the archives and was trying to just fuck over the Doctor, like break the Doctor's brain essentially with a lot of stuff. I think they should have done that, but they really doubled down on this stuff with Flux, which I will get to. But so yeah, this is, you know, offensively terrible and, you know, really fucks over the character. It was showrunning, and that's really such a shame. And like, you know, they are repairing themselves. They are coming back strong, but like, it's really such the shame that like a great Doctor like the 13th Doctor had to deal with like such a showrunning arc, you know. Yeah, I've talked day in and day out about this episode and how offensively terrible and it is. So yeah, Revolution of the Daleks, I remember this being pretty bad. I'm gonna put it in low tier though. I don't think it was like shit tier, but like, yeah. Flux, this was their experimental season 13 where they tried to do one 6-part story instead of doing like individual stories with like a thread in the background. Similar to season 6, but more explicit in that like it was really one story. Had some good parts to it, but overall it was bad and kind of a mess. There were threads in it that were really not developed enough and abandoned, like the Grand Serpent and even what those guys were even up to. Like, I couldn't even like tell you what the thesis of it was or anything like that. Like, it was really rough. I'm gonna put it in shit here, honestly. You know, like, it had some good elements, but like, really a waste of a season. And honestly, like, I often find myself forgetting there was even a season 13. I'm like, oh, like, we had the Timeless Child arc, and then we dive into the specials, and then we go into, like, this, yeah, it's like, you know, but, yeah, this was there. The fact that it was there, yeah. Even the Dogs, I really like this one. I think it's criminally underrated. I think it's a very fun episode. I think the side characters are very good. I think they're memorable, which is rare for, like one-off side characters, and I would love to see them come back. I think this was a very fun episode, and I'm gonna put it in high tier, actually. Mid tier. I'm changing things around. I'm putting this in low tier. I think that was the order, and I'm putting this in mid tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it was a fun episode. Legends of the Sea Devils. Okay. I think on a technical standpoint, this is the worst, not a narrative standpoint, because the narrative is like perfectly inoffensive. It's like a filler episode. From a technical standpoint, this is the worst episode of Doctor Who. The cinematography, the editing, the script writing was just like, it's unfathomable to me how it got approved. Like, how it made it through multiple checks and balances to get into the show. It's really terrible to a point where it's like was like a 14-year-old working on, like, it was really bad. And like I remember watching this and being like, this is unreal how like really shitty this is. And it's not shitty in a fun way like Love and Monsters. It's just shitty in like, this is the worst episode of the show, probably. Like, you know, like on a technical level. So obviously shit tier. Power of the Doctor, mid tier. Had a lot of issues, but a very fun episode, and I feel like it left, people with a decent taste in their mouth of the 13th Doctor. It's like, hey, we went through a lot of shit here, but like, let's leave with something like a fun note. It's just really fun, really exciting, really like a good time, and a good like, hey, let's let's have a positive taste in our mouth when we're saying goodbye to the 13th Doctor. So I thought it was like fair, it was like a fair, like, okay, let's say goodbye kind of episode, and I thought it was like solid, honestly. Star Beast, pretty bad, low tier, I think. But yeah. I did a whole video on these specials, so you can go watch my opinions there. I don't dive too deep into them here, but I think it was low tier, for sure. I think Wild Blue Yonder, of the 3 14th Doctor David Tennant return specials, is probably the strongest. I think The Giggle would be my favorite of the 3, but this was definitely the strongest. I think like other than like, could have pushed down the cheesiness a little bit, I think this was pretty much perfect. Like the cheesiness, a little bit of cheesiness kind of ruined it a little bit, but like it was a perfect, like, cool sci-fi unique concept Doctor Who story with like a really cool liminal space environment for the story. Yeah, very, very solid. I do think The Giggle needed to be a two-parter. I think it crams so much into its runtime that it needed more space to breathe. But I still think it's high tier. I still think it's really good. I think I just have a really good understanding of the character of the Doctor. It gives them a really good character development that I think they desperately needed at this point in the story, especially in the wake of all the shit we got with like the Timeless Child shit. I think it was really smart choice that they chose the Toymaker here as the villain instead of the Master, because this could have easily been another Master story. But very smart that they chose the villain of the Toymaker, and I think it really like complements the story that they were trying to tell itself. So yeah, I think this is really, really solid, and I think like there's issues, and I think it needed more room to breathe and explain things for sure, but I think it definitely was like a really solid piece and a really good conclusion to this like trilogy of episodes. And last but definitely not least, the Church on Ruby Road. I have a whole video specifically on this episode. I think it's like, it's pretty much perfect. It's a perfect Doctor Who story. It's a perfect introduction to a new companion who's in like perfect introduction to a new Doctor. And I think it's like it's the best Doctor introduction episode. Looking here at all the episodes we have up here, for sure. I know he was technically introduced in The Giggle, but like the Church on Ruby Road is just, it's so much fun, and it like has a shitty, terrible Return of the Jedi-esque singing dancing sequence, and like the fact that like you can tell me that that's in the episode and I can watch the episode and still think it's God tier just shows how really strong it is. It immediately introduces an ensemble cast for this era that I think is really strong. It introduces a great new companion who's really, really likable and really altruistic. Introduces the new Doctor in a very unique, fresh way. Yeah, I love this episode. I think it's perfect. Like it's a perfect introductory episode to the new Doctor and the new era. So yeah, that's all of the Doctor Who episodes. We did it, folks. Yeah, I am need to go lie down. I am very tired after going through. I recorded, like, didn't cut the recording, but this was all one sitting with bathroom breaks. So yeah, this is our tier list. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Like, I'm looking through, obviously there's some I'm missing, but I'm looking through and I'm like, there's nothing really I would move here. I think everything is like pretty fairly. Do I want to move the Christmas Invasion up to low tier, mid tier? Maybe. No. Let's leave it. Okay. Yeah, fuck it. It's going here. I think that's fair. Yeah, otherwise I think this is like pretty fair. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys agree, disagree with my placements, what your thoughts are. I think this is like a pretty inoffensive list. Like, there's some, like, takes, like, oh shit, putting Rings of Akaden in God tier, that's crazy. But, like, otherwise, like, looking through them, like, this is pretty fair. I don't think I had anything too controversial. Or maybe Spyfall in high tier would be the most criticism I'm going to get. But otherwise, I think I did pretty fair. I could be most definitely wrong, get a lot of hate, but we'll see. Anyway, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. It was fun. So, thanks, guys, for watching.